Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Dr. Travis Fox. Hello, Travis. How are you?
Wow, man! I just had a flashback. I felt like that was one of the famous Robin Williams openers, and also what was that famous movie with
Good morning, Vietnam.
yeah, Good Morning Vietnam. Thank you, mate. Apparently the coffee hasn't kicked in yet, but yes, Good Morning Vietnam and the Truman Show, right? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's like okay.
Well, obviously, now that we're going to, in this international world, you see, obviously, I'm now hanging out on the Strip in Las Vegas
I see that.
I
It's
thought
gonna be a long night.
I thought I would come over and be local to you,
Yeah, okay.
Given where you are.
Here's the problem. I flew over to be local with you, so I'm over in UK now. So now what?
We kind of crossed in the kind of
yeah, exactly.
Well, great to see you. And I know that you are an incredibly busy boy, so I really appreciate you coming on the show today. And I know that you're going to let the audience know in a minute what you're doing at the moment, which is pretty bloody impressive to say the least.
Thanks.
But thank you for coming on the show. And I suppose first question is, what gets you up in the morning, then, Mr. or Dr. Fox, as I'll call you?
Please call me Travis. Again, if you're calling me doctor, either you better be giving me dinner reservations or we don't know each other. So Travis is fine. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Besides, I'll save the audience a lot of time. If you don't know the etymology of the word doctor, when I found out when I was 33, it changed my life. The etymology of the word doctor goes back to a Latin word that means teacher. So if I'm worthy of the title teacher to all of your listeners, then you call me Dr. Fox. Beyond that, Travis is good enough. I mean, at 50 years old, I think one name is good. So, I appreciate it. I don't need to walk around and wave the flag of, oh yeah, doctor, whatever. It's important, but it's not. To be worthy of a teacher, I think has been the quest for the last really, 17 years. Really, to be worthy of that title is far more interesting to me than, doctor. And I'm not downplaying it. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it can be done. But more importantly, to be
you're not a medical doctor, though. You're a doctor.
Oh no, I'm the fake kind. I'm the PhD. I didn't want to go to another 4 years of med school. I wasn't that interested in the body, and the parts that I wanted to explore had nothing to do with medical. I'll let you figure that one out on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Theater of the mind, mate.
Yeah, keep it clean.
Oh, that's so boring. But okay, I'll do it.
I've not been banned from any of these platforms yet, but there's always a first.
Okay.
So where are you joining us from today, then?
I'm actually from my offices up in Utah, believe it or not. I've been up here for about 4.5 months due to the whole C-19 thing. And I've been working on all the things we've been doing in the academy and working on my 4th book. And it all just kind of came together in some kind of, mad storm of, okay, I just gotten back from the 2020 has been the bizarrest year, I have to say. And I think we can all agree on that. And I'm not trying to say that mine isn't more bizarre, but my year started off in the Philippines when the volcano erupted. I was there at our offices in the Philippines. So my year started off, violently eruptive and has been nonstop ever since. The only thing we need for 2020 is, bloody zombies walking around like The Walking Dead, and it'll be a complete year. We've done it all, between earthquakes and fires and the volcano and now C-19 and, things being shut down and open and not, and now we have to wear a mask, and our whole academy, my whole life is about taking off my mask, and now bloody hell at 50, I got to wear one again. It's like, crap, this is it's like it's not the hero's journey, it's like the unhero's journey. It's like, jeez. Anytime you guys want to rewrite the script, I'm good. We can stop. So.
You got to make sure you got a branded mask. You see, you got to have a branded.
Oh, I do. Oh yeah, no, I'm a shameless PR whore. I have to admit it. We have custom masks made for all the academy with the logo behind us, so it's there too. It's an opportunity, so we took that into consideration.
So you joined us from Utah, and you said, obviously, I know that I was paying homage to you with my amazing backdrop of the Strip in Las Vegas.
Well, I appreciate that, except for unfortunately, the Strip doesn't look like that anymore.
Oh, really?
No, strips. Like I said, all we need is the walking, zombies there, and it pretty much completes the year. It's a much different place.
It's deserted, I presume. Yeah.
Deserted-ish, right? Because it's been open now for a couple of weeks, quote unquote. But all the entertainment's not there. There's no beach clubs. There's no nightclubs that I'm aware of. The convention business. Completely different, right? And convention business was a massive component of the stability of that town, and a great meeting place because for obvious reasons you can handle it. When you have shows canceling like CES and NAB that are already canceled for 2021, that's some pretty heavy writing on the wall. And so it's very challenging. And again, I think it's extraordinarily difficult psychologically for people, and I could be wrong. Again, I don't speak for everybody, but just on a mass scale of going to a place like Vegas during times like this just seems anticlimactic. It doesn't have the same zip. We're not going there to. Originally, most people come to Vegas because, the old adage, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You be who you want to be in Vegas and blah, blah, blah. Now, all of a sudden, you come to Vegas and you have to wear a bloody mask wherever you go. And you're kind of quasi-quarantined with, all the cubicles at the table. And the social aspect of what Vegas really was about has been so diminished. And it's just, again.
It's being sucked out of it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, just, it's like having sex by yourself. It gets, relatively the boring part. You're like, okay, I've done this.
Okay. Boom.
Yeah. You're from UK, mate. You can handle it. Stop it.
I'm pretending to be embarrassed and not know what you're talking about.
Talk about masks. All right, right back at it. There we go.
Yeah, I'll put my. No, I'm not going to put my mask on. Anyway.
No.
So obviously, I know that you are working on some very interesting stuff. So what's going on in Travis's world at the moment?
Great question. Well, the Architects of Being Online Learning Academy has really expanded. And our goal this year was very specific. And ironically, it's C19 has really changed its model and accelerated it because people are really starting to embrace, well, wait a minute. Work doesn't have to be, going back and forth 2 hours a day in traffic and go into a job I really don't like. And obviously this has forced that, but also too simultaneously, and something I'm extraordinarily passionate about, is changing our educational system, especially here in the United States. But global scale is our bigger vision. But the United States in specificity, and our academy, because the way it's designed and the way it works, is a learning academy. It's interactive, so it's not just watch a video and hope to God to get it. It's actually touchscreen or click it activated. There's test taking, quizzing but it's not done on a pass or fail, because pass or fail to me is like the worst thing you could do to set up a mind. The pass or fail. I'm either good enough or I'm not. It's about absorption into your DNA, because once it gets into your DNA, quote unquote, it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it becomes a behavior. Now you become emotionally compelled to whatever it is you're creating. And I don't mean created like, hey, you think it'll fall out of the sky, mate. It's just horse crap. It's about it's based on clinical experiential science, the application of that science, and most importantly, the experience, so that you can measure in real time, hey, I'm actually moving, I'm changing, I'm catching myself, I'm stopping those behaviors, I'm stopping those thought processes, I'm stopping how I communicated in the past. And you can do it in a way that actually, feels good, what a concept, but that take that and become a teacher trainer yourself, as many of our master architects do, or become a content provider, brand builder, because those are the only two things I'm good at. Beyond that, I'm dumb as a brick. So I'm like, I don't know. I know how to teach, and I know how to build brands. Those are the two things I'm really good at.
Dr. Travis, I'm thick as a brick, but I'm a PhD. Yeah, okay.
Well, PhD just means please her daily, mate. That's all. That's all it means.
You've got some good one-liners today. I tell you.
No, that's original. I've been saying that one for a while, but the point being is, one of the things about being a PhD is to me is overrated, is because it's really a mind game. And it leaves out, and I say that I hate to sound altruistic and euphoric, but it's necessary, especially in today's world, is it really talks about mind. We don't really dive into emotional structures. We'll talk about it, but we still talk about it as though it's all mindset. Now, I know I used to be a mindset coach and a mind training coach, and I'm a mindset doctor, and I trained corporations and all this other stuff, but it was mind stuff. And I'm like, it just feels hollow. Something's missing. There's another component down here in who we are that's not being added. And so,
okay. So what you're saying is this kind of hearts and minds concept. Is that what you said? Is that?
Yeah. In that order too. It is heart mind, right? Mm-hmm. The mind is actually a tool that is actually resonant from the heart, but people go, it's just the heart. I'm like, no, wait a minute. We're talking about the same almost same cellular structure. We're talking about an electromagnetic conductive system that speaks. And then you use the mind as the tool that it is, because it's a real simple term. It's like, listen, all the listeners out there in the world that are listening to Andrew's show, it's real simple. There's only one truth on the planet, right? And that is, you're not getting off the planet alive, period. Everything else by which you arrive at that truth is a story or a journey that you're creating, right? Now, some of that creation is your choice, right? You choose it. Part of, or at least I think you choose it, but a lot of it too is your automated programming, or what's, with the rule of subteminal law, or periodicity, right? And that goes all the way back and harkens back to, your imprint stage at 0 to 7, And then you have what we call the 4 pillars, which is mother, father, religion, and culture. Those 4 massive influences really are the base plate of say 80-85%, right?
Yeah.
And so we play out these patterns. But now let's talk about the educational system. Let's bring this full circle. When you went through, middle school and high school and university, you got educated, but you came out dumb. So did I, because we only got educated on, can I pass or fail? Did I get the grade? And did I move on?
Yeah.
Learning is totally different. Learning, we learn in emotional states. It becomes a part of who we are. And I prove this every day with people across the world. I said, really great. Tell me every class you took in high school. And of course they blank. And I'm like, yeah, so you got a bunch of crap in your head, but did it really learn something, or did you just get information thrown at you and then you're expected to remember to get a test and you forget it and you compartmentalize it? Learning gets in your DNA. Learning is a passion. It's on purpose. It's on point. It's because you choose it and you evoke a journey out of that learning sequence, and out of that learning sequence and that evoking becomes a natural, passionate wheel. Why back in the day, like harken back to the Viking days, and to honor your people, right? We raped and pillaged. That's what we taught everybody. Damn it, to go, and that's how we conquered.
Exactly. Get those horn hats on.
Yeah, that's right.
I've got this.
Yeah,
look, this is my.
Yeah, perfect. You got the mug for it.
My Viking horn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we, back then though, it was, master apprentice. That's how people learned. They actually learned a craft, and it became a part of them. And then the artistry of their natural being showed up, whether they were, blacksmith, whether they were a farmer, whatever. Today, our educational system is no more about educating than, we're trying to say that,
is it like
Mars has oxygen. It just makes no sense.
It's like a factory. Yeah.
It's not even just fracturing. It is a subtle, and in my opinion, I think teachers across the world are the most underpaid people in the world because they have the right heart for it, but that they get into all these politics, this administration, this tax dollar BS. And here's the problem. It literally systematically and slowly drives the life out of both the teachers and the students concurrently. So students are graduating high school with a supposed education, higher education, and yet have no clue, zero, how to deal with the single longest relationship they're ever going to have in their life, which is with themselves, which to me is oxymoronic. That makes no bloody sense in the world. And then people wonder why, they're having midlife crises and all of a sudden they're in a red Corvette with a blonde. Duh. It's because you're still trying to figure out how to deal with you, because your head and your programming says one thing, but your being, hence the name of the academy, and now moving towards a more accredited space is, hey, we got to learn to deal with you. And I don't mean deal with you because you need to learn to deal with you. You just got to grin and bear it. Okay, that's a process, but that's not what I mean. I'm talking about people who are truly systematically, their dreams are crushed. They trade in dreaming for hoping. They trade in creating for doing, and they settle for mediocrity for a life yet experienced, because the truth is, if you're not getting off the planet alive, then life without living is the ultimate undoable regret. That sucks. And I think that's an indentured form of slavery. It's just done subtly. It is the best mass hypnosis, that I've studied over the last 5 decades of how human dynamics are working. And it's time to wake up. And I don't mean like, gee, just wake up and it's done kumbaya. Let's go dance naked around a fire. Although that's fun, done it myself. That's not what I mean. I mean to wake up. I mean to wake up and go, wait a minute. There's the ability now to have a global learning system where your true passion comes out. And I don't mean like, well, doggone it, people like me, although that's fun too. Again, I'm talking about really practical creation. And in today's world, C19 has finally created a crack, if not a wound, in some of these massive institutions that were so pillarized in that's the way we've always done it. That's the way we're always going to do it. Don't
challenge the rules. Don't challenge the consensus.
Correct.
Don't challenge.
Yeah, so the academy does that on a global scale. We have students all over the world now, and I forget how many countries we're in. I gave count, so from that though, I got really fascinated about 15 years ago with how do we actually heal? What does that mean? So I went to a bunch of my colleagues who all had more letters before and after name than I do. And I'm like, okay, you guys are supposed to be smarter than me. Oh, it's a deal. And everybody kept saying the same thing. Well, Travis, time heals all wounds. Oh, that's total crap. That's total crap. Time doesn't heal squat. Time just teaches you how to mask it, or how to ignore it, or not deal with it. And then it shows up again, but now it shows up in a different story, right? Now the character is a different, a different woman or a different man, or it's a different business relationship, but the pattern, the undercurrent pattern is the same. And then boom, we reignite that wound again. And now it becomes compounded, and we become jaded old pricks by the time, we're 60 or 70 years old. And we've really, stuffed down the light of who we are. And so,
so it's a quick question. Do you know Mastin Kit?
I know the name. I don't know personally.
Okay, so I met him in London late last year. He's written a book that's quite interesting about trauma, how to deal with trauma and how to heal from trauma.
Yeah,
and he has a program that it took him 10 years to write a book.
Yeah,
and he's been on Oprah, the Oprah show, and she's very, and it's been on Tom Bellew, the Tom Bellew stuff. You've probably seen that as well on YouTube. Yep. And I met him physically. He actually did a 3-hour session in London with probably 500 people in a church in Italy. And it was amazing. I mean, the people were actually, authentically, emotionally sharing stuff, about the trauma and all that kind of healing piece. So I think, the thing is that I know you just shared a lot of information then in a short space of time. But I think
that's part of my Asperger's.
Well, no, but what I was going to say to you was that what I took out of that was you were saying that you go through school or you go through education, then you start to really learn what it's all about after you've left school. And a lot of stuff that you learn at school, you don't really ever use again. It's a bit like a checkbox exercise that you've been through.
Right. It's a rite of passage.
Yeah, and it's then when you go through and you get a degree, and then you get a master's degree, like I've got an MBA, but whatever, there's all these kind of acronyms of what MBA means, etc.
Oh yeah, pick one.
But and then do you then become a PhD? There's this kind of hierarchy of educational achievement.
And then after PhD, you find out you don't know shite.
Well, but then I suppose my question. So what you're saying is that you've seen, and I agree with you on this piece, is that you then have life experiences, through your relationships or through your work, or through your personal life, that where you really, really learn what it's kind of all about, and then you start to get you then start to deal with trauma and obviously events happening in your life, and it's how you recover from that and how you actually move forward in your life. And it sounds like what you've seen is your mission seems to be around equipping people with dealing with that earlier on in their life, or doing that as a replacement for the education system. Is that what you're kind of saying? Is that what your mission?
Not a replacement, but even if you listen, and thank you for that, you're right from the perspective. Even when you started that opening sequence there, you went and you get all this education, and then you go out and see what life, and you learn what life is about. You can see the word education and learn switch automatically. So even in your natural language, it does it. And that's the difference. We don't learn people anymore. We don't help them learn about themselves. So what we teach at the Academy, as far as the educational side, and what we're really thrusting into from the space of education, is teaching the wealth skills, because you're really wealthy when you understand the skills of management of yourself, what the psychology of yourself and your internal state, and how to adjust a behavioral program, and how to change your thinking process and use this brilliant mind that we all get as the tool it was designed, not as the master it tries to enslave us by, because of how we've been educated outside in, but not without and having fun in a dualistic style. So because of my film and television background and being on stages, for thousands of hours and enjoying it, I really call it edutainment, which is not a new word, but I think that because we learn in emotional states, we learn the emotional state we're in is how it encodes in our DNA. And if we're learning like we do in the educational system, where we're mostly bored, we're passing notes across the room, we're on our cell phone, we're just not even there, man.
We're switched up. We're kind of checked out, basically.
We were never checked in, right? So we're already gone. So the emotional state we're in this is a waste of bloody time. And that's how it sets. And then it manifests itself. And then you're right. Then we go into the world, quote unquote. And then they give us these really good programs, which are just stupid. And I'm like, guys, I fell victim to it too. And I did it as a parent. And that's what really clued me in. I was like, wow, Dr. Dumb doesn't understand what he's even really talking about. And I say that, in a kind of, self-emasculating way, but to go, wait a minute. That's not my purpose. That wasn't what I was designed to bring here. And I've always known it. I was just fighting myself because I was supposed to be a Dr. Fox, and I had the houses and the cars and the RVs and the jets and all this other stuff, right? It looked like my life was perfect on the outside, but something kept not feeling right.
Right.
Like, God, there's something deeper here. There's a bigger purpose, man. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And when I really looked at it, I was like, wait a minute. They sent us out in the world and said, hey, Andrew, You're graduated from high school. You're a learned man now. Here's the thing. You need to go out and find yourself, and you need to find your passion, and you need to find your soulmate. Well, shit. What you just told me is I don't know anything, and I don't know how to find any of those things. So now I'm an addict. I'm addicted to this constant searching to find the parts of me that were missing.
Right.
It's in slavery. There's no way around it. It is a psychological mind game. And it is such a heavy mind game. And then what's worse is we don't give them any learning on how to deal with this puppy above your shoulders, or how to understand what's going on in your guts and which one to listen to. And so the wealth skills that we teach at the educational level, which is to teach these young people how to know what's really right for them, not what mom and dad say. And I'm not talking about rebellion. I'm not talking about anarchy. Quite the opposite. I'm talking about ownership of your life, of, hey, life is precious. And it goes by bloody fast. And if you don't know that, then you haven't been here long enough yet to figure that out. But take a word for it when you really start diving in and you looked at, yes, death is a natural part of life, but death also means stop, over, done. So what does living really mean? We don't teach any of that anymore. In fact, we do the opposite. We numb you out. We numb you out, we put you in debt, and then we tell you to go work at some job you can't stand because you have a piece of paper that supposedly makes you educated, but then when you go to get the job, you got to learn how the job works. What? Hey, what? No wonder why our divorce rate is at 70%. No wonder why we have anarchy in the world right now, because everyone's wandering around going, Andrew, do you have the answer for me? Are you my soulmate? Are you the part that's going to finally make me whole? I mean, hell, we have films, David. You had me at hello, you complete me. No, that completes you. You're already complete. But that's not what our psychology, and that's not what our subconscious says.
Just a quick question. Yeah. This is really interesting. Why do you think, so is this, the COVID thing, right, has obviously amplified certain issues in the world, right? And also the kind of the level of, the whole thing about, George Orwell, 1984, the 10-year plan, the pandemic, all that stuff, right?
Oh, sure.
And we could talk about that for hours. But what do you think is what's your take on the root of that? Is that the kind of when I said the factory model, you see what I was thinking about was the thing about Taylorism, right? When it actually, the whole thing about workers were kind of pre-programmed and preconditioned to be a certain way and go through a certain system because mass production, all that kind of stuff. It was a factory model, right?
Right.
And obviously now we're now still we're in 2020 now, I believe, and yet that model is still kind of, you could say, is out of date. And it sounds like you're trying to do is break or get them to think for themselves about actually what they should be. This architect of the being, or the academy of the being, to basically evolve their own path. Because the biggest thing I was just thinking about when you were talking then was actually the a famous thing from Jim Rohn, who you probably know, yeah, about the thing is, if you don't have your own plan, then somebody else will have a plan for you and it won't be very good. Yeah. Or analogous to that. So what is your plan? Yeah. So
it's like Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled, right?
Which links back to your ownership point about, what is your plan? How do you empower somebody to have their own plan and own their own life and own their own plan? Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah, the Architects of Being Academy is based on a blueprint. It's a step-by-step system that allows every human being on the planet, because we all have the basically same rules of how our minds, bodies work, right? Yeah. But how we create and employ that blueprint is no different than how we build a house. I can give you the plans for this house, say, Andrew, here's the architectural plans for this house, but how you build it, the materials you use, the designing, the location, that's all you, mate. Mm. Well, how come we don't give people a blueprint to deal with themselves? Because that's the single longest relationship. I don't care about your job or how many wives or husbands you've had. That's still the central axis is you. And we don't invite that, and we don't give them the real. So to me, wealth skills are the skills that you have that you can go, you know what, I can take these set of skills I have right now. If the academy blew up, if all of our thousands of students left, everyone said, screw this, the old man's lost it. I can take these set of skills and I can go anywhere in the world and bang, I can create whatever I want to create. And again, I'm not talking about just thinking it'll show up kind of shit. I'm talking about really creating it, because it's a set of skills to manage me and engage with people. Because whatever business you're in, anyone listening to this podcast, around the globe, you are in the people business. I don't care what business you're in. How you want to categorize, it's up to you. At the end of the day, there are people involved. And until we start to deal with the single most dominant person in our life, which is ourselves, we're always going to have conflict. And it doesn't mean you have to get along with everybody, but you can understand how to cooperate. There's a difference in those two statements, right? We're so designed to be competitive on a dog-eat-dog world, which is what in slavery is all about. It becomes about lack. It becomes about, I've got to get mine before you get yours. Hey, family, let's just clue in. This whole, oh my God, the world's going to crash. It's the same bloody world it was a year ago. It's just how we're approaching it and how we're then throttling things. Money hasn't left the planet. Hell, we're printing money like it falls out of the bloody sky. I know we are here in America. I mean, we're just like, hey, it's raining, billions and we're talking trillions don't even affect us anymore. We're going to be in quadrillions soon because that's the only thing that makes an impact anymore. And you get into this kind of shock theory, and this is how you get people to accept new ideology, which we've been doing throughout human history. Which is how we get. If you do it to a point where you systematically take things away, you push the envelope of comfortability, you let it slide back, then it becomes comfortable, you push it again. Now what was uncomfortable is comfortable. And then at the very end of all of this, you give them the big global sell. Hey, we're going to, there's a new world order, or hey, we're going to change the currency to one world currency, or we're going to change how travel and what freedom really is defined by, because you guys can't do it on your own. So we, whoever we is, we're going to do that. And that's been out throughout human history. And you can look that all the way back from, dictatorships to conquesting, same kind of concept. We're still doing it because it's human dynamics. We're still basically the same creature, at least, the anatomics of who we are as we were, 2 centuries ago, 3 centuries ago. It hasn't changed much. But again, that becomes the debate between intelligence and wisdom. Our wisdom is down here on the being level. However you define being, family, is up to you. I'm not here to tell you what being is. I'm not that smart. I know what being means to me. I just call it, great architect. You figure it out on your own, call it whatever you want, because again, that's an influence as well. It's one of the pillars. But also, more importantly, you just look at the simplicity of it. You came from somewhere and became Andrew. You didn't even get to choose your name, Andrew. Your parents chose it for you. So your first choice was already screwed. So was mine, right? Oh, you'll be Travis. Okay, Travis sounds great. But Travis identifies the spacesuit.
I could have been Travis Turner. I could have been.
Yeah, you could have. I could have been Andrew. But our parents got dyslexic and they got it backwards and they named you Andrew.
You could have been Andrew. Andrew Fox AF. You see, you could have AF and AT. You see, we know. I was nearly called Charles. They were going to call me Charles. I mean, can you imagine? I could have been called Charlie.
Yeah.
I could have been, analogous to Prince Charles with the.
Right. You could have been that too, right? So again, our first choice isn't our first choice. Right. But we came here from somewhere. We're going to have this thing called life, and then we're going to leave. And now whatever your religious ideology is and your construct of that is up to you. It doesn't matter. But the fact is, in between those two experiences, you are ingested in this body, right? And this body has to be called Travis. Yours has to be called Andrew. Yours is called whatever your name is called, right? Okay. But what are you really here for, mate? Is it really to get up every day and get on? And again, I'm not saying work isn't valuable. There are things we need to do as a cooperative system, meaning as a species on this planet to survive. But when you really step back from it all, and we all know this is the thing that's hilarious, Andrew. We all know this and we don't talk about it at cocktail parties because we don't want to sound like we're, just out there and we've just off the farm. We've lost our marbles.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is life purpose, aren't you? Is it that bigger question of
not even just life purpose? Because I find life purpose is still a search, mate. I mean, you've got to go find your purpose. No, you don't. Where are you going to find it? What, at a bus stop? Did they give you a roadmap to this? What are you, Indiana Jones? You're going to go find your purpose? I mean, that's bloody crap. I mean, and you want to look at it. I'm going to blow everybody's brains out when I say, hey, it isn't about purpose, because purpose means that's it. That's the one thing I'm here for. That's a very limiting concept.
You mean like it's not a destination? Is that what you're saying? Is that?
Yeah, it's like going to a theme park.
Yeah,
you go to a theme park, you're like, okay, I'm going to ride this roller coaster. I'm going to eat this cotton candy. We're going to go to this arcade. We're going to ride this water ride. It's about experiencing it, because I'm going to put a morbid tip to it, and I apologize, but it's for the point. How many people are going to leave the planet today? 1,000, 10,000 worldwide? Leaving the planet. How many of those 10,000 on a global scale are going to be remembered tomorrow? Realistically, 99% will not be. Not because they weren't remembered. They're localized microcosmic world, yes, but on a global scale. Okay, so when you backpedal from that, we can hearken all the way back to the original text that said, you are everything and you are nothing simultaneously. So how come we're not willing to experience, oh, Travis, that just sounds like you want to be a vagabond. Is that such a bad thing?
So if it's not your purpose, is it your legacy?
Okay, legacy is based on what? I'll ask you.
I don't know. I'm just trying to.
No, mate. Let's play.
I'm trying to link a construct that I can.
The construct is, what do you want? If I'll put it up, let's go this way. Let's go a different direction. I'll answer your question with a question, but it'll put the point on it, mate. So, listeners, Let's look at it this way. If you had 30 days left to live on this planet, would you be doing anything in your life right now that you're doing? Would you be in the relationship you're in? Would you continue the job that you're on? Would you continue to treat yourself like crap? Would you continue to talk to yourself in the head the way that you do? Would you do any of that? If any part of your answer to that question is no, that's what I'm talking about. You are screwing yourself. We're all programmed to do it because that's the problem.
What you're saying is wake up.
Well, no, you're not asleep.
But what I'm saying, I suppose it's a kind of
no, I understand the vernacular. I know where you're going, mate.
It's kind of like it's not the zombie. Well, is it the kind of zombie? It's moving from actually the pattern of the life you're going through to actually getting real and being and elevating what you do to something that's more.
Okay, I love all those. Okay, I'm going to be the black sheep in the family. So all of the listeners out here, and I own it because that pop psychology language is part of the problem. Respectfully. This is what the architects we stand for pretty intensely as a family and as a community worldwide. We're like, wait a minute, you got to wake up. It implies you're asleep. You're not. You're making choices every single day. But are you making those choices based on what's really interesting to you, or are you making on what you think you're obligated to do, or who you think you're supposed to be for some outcome? Yeah, okay. So you're already awake. This illusion that you're asleep is total hogwash. You're awake. You don't want to know it's real? If I walked up and I pinched you in the arm, you'd feel it. You're awake. It's what the choices we're making, because those choices are made at a subconscious, automated, or shadow subconscious level. And we're so afraid to go into the dark. We're afraid to go into the darkness of ourselves. I call it beautiful darkness because down in that darkness is the truth. And I don't mean, oh, you got to go blame your mom and your dad and they're a bunch of a-holes. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about everything in our universe is an inside-out creation. The earth itself pushes up, and becomes mantle, or what we call dirt. Seeds are put in the ground. They come up through dirt and become seeds. Everything is an inside-out creation, but everything we do as a species is outside in. We're bass-ackwards. So
maybe I should qualify it. I should have said phonetically we should wake up. Yeah. So it's a bit like unfortunately, you speak English, we speak American. So let's start with that, right?
We're a downwatered version of you guys. I mean, we're a bunch of rebels that said, "Screw your tea, we're out of here," right? But let's be honest. So let's look at it from that perspective. It's wake up from the ideology of what we think we are.
Point. Yeah. Okay.
As opposed to what we want to feel. And I don't mean feel like, oh, doggone it, kumbaya. I'm talking about, wait a minute, experiencing things. Because if you have 30 days left to live, and if you've ever been around someone who's had that experience, and I've had the honor of being around many people who've taken their last breath as they leave for the great journey, they don't talk about any of the things we talk about on podcast, radio, television. We don't talk about any of that crap. They talk about the same thing. I wish I had traveled more and experienced people. I wish I'd spent more time with the ones I loved, and I wish I had let myself experience everything I really wanted to experience. So now we're back to the only noble truth on the planet. You're not getting off the planet alive, and life without living fully expressed is the ultimate undoable regret. And that starts with dismantling some of the things you think you're supposed to do to get your little gold star and be an attaboy and atta-girl, which goes all the way back to how our educational system psychologically and emotionally enslaves us. I'm not placing blame.
It enslaves you or programs you?
Yes.
Both.
What's the difference?
I think it's just the phrase you use and the phrase out. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Is it?
Well, because
if it was the same thing, mate, it'd be the same word.
I suppose enslaving implies it's got some kind of some construct which is constraining you. Yeah.
It does. It's a hierarchical adjustment. Okay, you go to university for what purpose?
But programming, I suppose, that's the tech thing. I suppose is kind of it's a pattern. It's defining a pattern of how you operate or how you think and how you do things. Or
correct.
What you think you should do.
Sure. What if I program you for enslavement?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, that's the new pattern.
No, that's the pattern that's been around for a while, but like a couple of centuries.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that in the thing about if you go back to the tech thing what you're challenging is the reprogramming. Your mission you said a bit earlier is how do you re-educate people to be in your framework and your academy.
Yeah, let me clarify that.
Really expand that kind of area.
Yeah, let me clarify that. I'm not about reprogramming. I'm about giving you a system where if you feel you'd like to change how you are programmed, that's up to you. I'm not here to tell you whether you need to be programmed or not. People who say that you need to be programmed to me is just someone who is way off their rocker. I'm not in a position to judge anybody's journey. I'm not that smart. I will never claim to be that smart. Those are people who really want, some sort of fame or to be, idolized. I'm not interested in that crap. I'm interested in people actually being free on their own terms, whatever that means. Who am I to judge your journey, Andrew? I don't know what you've been through, what's in your heart. Anybody says that is just full of crap, or they're selling you something, or both, right? Our response is it's an invitation for you to get a series of a system, a blueprint, a step-by-step system to have everything that you want. The question is, what do you really want? I don't know. I can't answer that for you. I don't have answers for you, but I have a really good system that'll help you find out.
You're trying to trigger people to think about that and define what that is. And
yeah, but way past thinking. Thinking's the problem, right? Because again, if it was thinking, it's the same animal that's the problem, which is the same thing that's thinking. So it's like, asking redundant to be redundant. It doesn't make sense. What I'm inviting people to do is go, wait a minute. If you look at life from a different point of view, which is the point of view we originally used to look at it when we were not so into this competitive model of I've got to be a gazillionaire before I'm 20, whatever that means, right? It's about what is the journey you really want to experience. I mean, one of the things that, I can say for my own personal journey is, I had money, I lost money, had money, lost money, had it again and went, okay, so third time's a charm. Well, what's the deal here? What is it you're really interested in? I realized it wasn't the money I was really interested in. It's what's on the other side of that. What's on the other side of that? Being able to go, hey, there's a family that really needs something, and I don't need the newspapers to go, well, Travis Fox and the Architects of Being gave a small donation today. Shut up, right? Just do it, right? Do it because it feels right, because it's what feels good for you. And if you need any other accolades from that, then ask yourself, what are you doing it for? Are you really doing it because it really just feels good? And again, being able to say, hey, at 48 years old, I was invited to go climb Kilimanjaro. I've never climbed a mountain before in my life, mate. I'm an ocean kid. I don't like cold weather. Hell, I can't even stand rainy days in the UK.
You don't like the hiking boots.
Yeah. Right. But before I could open my mouth and object from a thinking perspective, my being went, hell yeah, I'm in. And, and then as soon as I hung up the phone, I was like, oh gosh, what did I just agree to? I mean, that's the seventh tallest mountain in the world. That's 19,341 feet above altitude. People die. What are you, dumb? What are you doing, Fox? You're 48 years old. You're in great shape, but you're an ocean kid. You're a water baby. That's your gig. That's where you go. And it changed my life. But again, one of the things I invite people to look at is it doesn't have to look like you think it does. That's the challenge. If it doesn't look a certain way, we won't accept that there is something more intelligent than ourselves. And yet we all claim to believe in a higher power of some sort or another. Yet when push comes to shove, we don't believe in squat. That's the problem. So what about a system of what do we really believe? Why do we believe it? And becomes your journey. And you do take an ownership of it, not from the decisions of the past and making decisions based on the past, but a choice, a real, honest, down-to-earth being choice. What is it I want to choose? If I had 30 days left to live, would I do this? No. Well, how come? Or yes. How come? Because it feels here, right? And a way to identify true compass north. I think that what I watched my youngest son, who's an autistic and who is on the spectrum, go through an education, was he fought the education system because it didn't feel right for him. He wasn't being rebellious. He wasn't, gee, I don't want to do the homework, Dad. He was brilliant. He just says, this doesn't feel right. How come that isn't a part of the journey we teach anymore? We teach have tos, obligateds, must do because you're told to, because if you don't, then there's a consequence. Well, that's a crappy model. Obviously, our world is falling apart because we're still trying to force that square peg into
rules with penalties.
Right, consequences and choices and consequences, but it's not choices; it's decisions. We're making decisions of the past, getting the exact same consequences, only compounded because we keep repeating it, and we don't know how to stop. Simple. How do I stop laying awake at 4 a.m, staring at the ceiling fan, going, "What am I going to do next?" And yet, everyone listening has done that at least once or twice. They have. But we don't teach you how to deal with that.
Just a quick question. So we are on the G&T sessions podcast, growth and technology, right? So just a quick question about, because you've dropped some pretty big, profound bombs already in the first 20 minutes of this podcast.
What did you call me? What'd you say?
Boom.
Thank you.
Yeah, dropping bombs, Brad Lee.
Yeah, right. I know Brad Lee very well. He's a good friend of mine, actually.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he is.
I watched him a few years ago at the Grant Cardone's conference, and
absolutely 10x.
He spent probably 40 minutes talking about, about probably 30 minutes talking about brush your teeth. brush your teeth. It's just like, and I'm going to get to it. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Anyway, so G and T, right? So,
Yep.
Just a quick question: what was the trick? Because this is great stuff you're working on, right? I think it's very valuable, very important, very groundbreaking.
Thank you.
And very worthwhile. So, what was the trigger? What did you get to in like an epiphany moment? What in your personal growth journey?
Yeah,
You
sure.
you alluded to some of that. What happened?
There were really kind of three pivotal moments that stand out throughout my journey and that I talk very openly about. And in the next book, I really take the blueprint on that for people. One was when I was 9 years old. And, if you ever saw the original movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise, that was quasi my life. My father was a fighter pilot and my mother was a model actress, bona fide. So if you saw the movie Top Gun where they all get together at the end, that was not my life. It didn't work out that way. It was quite the opposite. So you have a right brain and a left brain dominant individual kind of clashing in their communication system and their value system. And at 9, they finally called it quits. And, they sat down with me because I was an only child, probably because then I was a pain in the ass the first time. So they're like, we're not doing this again. So the 9 years, they said, okay, we're going to get divorced. You get to choose who you live with. And at that moment, everything changed for me. I went into a totally different mode. I went into survival mode. What does that mean? How am I going to survive? Who's going to take care of me? Because each of them had a very distinct value system. Each of them brought very distinct survival mechanisms and learnings. But when they weren't in the same room together, working as the two together, now it became very isolated. And so through that process, I realized that, my childhood became very abated. And again, this is not a blaming mother, father, Freudian model. It's just, okay, I realized, oh crap, I really need to start taking care of myself now. So what an average 9-year-old would be thinking about, I wasn't thinking about. I was thinking about survival, who is going to be able to take care of me? What is roof over my head kind of things. And obviously a lot of kids go through that as well. I'm not diminishing anyone's journey, but that really was when I started to go, I need to start working with me a little bit more. And Dr. Dennis Waitley, who I had the pleasure of being with 40 years later, and 2 films with, is really kind of the one that got me started on my career with the psychology of winning, which I was applying to my golf career at the time because I was starting to get, emotionally unbalanced. I was unstable. I would have, violent mood swings where if I wasn't perfect all the time on the golf course, I was upset. There was no in between for me. So the psychology of winning started, and I started getting really fascinated on, well, how come I think these thoughts? Where do these things come from? Why would I'm supposed to be mastered at this game of golf? I learned to use that term loosely, but that was the thought process. And yet I'd get up on there and I'd have self-defeating thoughts. I'd have self-limiting. I would, and again, if anybody ever talked to me the way I talk to myself, they'd have a problem. But yet I could talk to myself in the most obscene ways. And we all do this. And I allowed it. And then over time, it started to crack into the psychology of me. And I became a young father, which was not part of my plan, but apparently it was a part of my being's plan. And that changed everything again. And at 19, I had just kind of an emotional breakdown. I went from, this is my life planned out. I'm going to be on the PGA Tour like my father wanted for me. And that's what I spent the last 15 years mastering. And now I'm a first-time father, have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm an emotional head case. That's a problem. And I met my mentor, who I sat under for 15 years, who really kind of guided me through my journey of becoming Dr. Fox and getting quote educated. But he really taught me in a very different way. He taught me mentor apprentice, even though he was a doctor himself, but what he did is he taught in such a way and so many layers, because, we don't speak on just a single layer. We speak on multiple layers simultaneously. And he always taught me multiple layers. And he put me through all kinds of situations. Hey, I want you to speak on stage here. We're going to go do shows here. We're going to put you in situations that are uncomfortable. And the whole journey that he was teaching me of what I thought was what really became a dualistic third epiphany, which was when my third child, my second son, who was born on the autistic spectrum, came. And I had done, at that time, I'd done 7,000 stage appearances. I'd done over 14,000 hours on stage. I'd film and television, and I'd started to win awards and Emmys and all these other things. And he's like, great, that's awesome. Now you're ready for the journey. Of course, I'm like, what do you mean ready for the journey? What the hell have I been doing for the last 15 years? What are you talking about? And
wait, it's like the Carpenter song, you've only just begun.
Right. Yeah. Hey, now that you've just arrived, now you're ready. I'm like, holy hell. I mean, I just arrived. I mean, that's like, being in traffic for 15 hours. And oh, by the way, you got to do a 30-hour day. What? So it blew my mind. And he said, Del Travis, I want you to go teach them to unwind it. And he goes, I can teach you no more. You're a master. And that's it. I never saw him again, and he took the great journey. And then my autistic son was born, and that unraveled everything, because the communication system of an autistic is radically different, right? It is all emotional based. It is all emotional communication. And all the tools I had as, quote unquote, Dr. Fox failed. I had no idea how to communicate with my son, and I unraveled. I went, wait a minute, what's the point of being so educated if I can't communicate at the basic of level, which is emotional? I was a mindset guy. I could teach you mindset here to Christmas structurally, but it leaves out the most important part. And that's when the academy changed. That's when I went, wait a minute. And I spent 5 years. I traveled around the world 3 times. I sat with all the great spiritual masters from every ideology you could think of, every person who was supposed to be, some head of something. I sat with them, and that's when I came up with the noble truth. And I went, the only noble truth that exists on this planet is you're not getting off this planet alive. That's it. Everything else is a story and a construct. Okay. So there must be an operating system, right? Using tech.
Accurate and profound, basically.
Well, yeah, using technical as a metaphoric overlay, there has to be a better operating system than the one we were operating on. So who's running the show? And that's where architects have been really the online academy changed, because it added the one component that we wouldn't talk about. It talks about shadow subconscious. It talks about emotional driver systems and fracture and trauma. And where do we deal with? Where do these things come from? Because then you start to understand that the thing that's above our shoulders, called our head mind, is really just a big transmitter receiver. And when used properly, you can experience life completely differently. And I don't mean just, oh my God, you think in a Lamborghini will fall out of the bloody sky. Although that'd be fun too. I haven't seen that one happen quite yet, mate. But theoretically, it exists on some planet.
I'm sure it's happened on TikTok already. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'm sure. Poof, it just shows up. Great, and I got a purple Lamborghini. Awesome. I'm talking about truly being a passion, purpose, and point, and practicing those in a way that is true compass north for you. That quote Scott Peck, it becomes the road less traveled, but yet is the only road you were ever designed to travel for you. The beautiful, one of the things that I cannot stand about social media these days, and I'll see if you guys would agree, is that, there's all this isms out there, there's isms. I'm going to repeat other people's stuff so I sound cool, so I get a like and a follow. And I'm like, wait a minute, what are you really saying? But one of the things I see often is, Andrew, you've got to be more enlightened. You've got to be the light, mate. Shut up. You already are the bloody light. Stop it. That's like asking the sun to be sunny. That makes no bloody sense. You are already a light.
Are you going down a Star Wars route here? You see the light and the dark.
Well, I mean, come on. The hero's journey of Joseph Campbell is by which the arc of everything that we've since the hero's journey became cognitively known is everything's based on it. Okay, cool. But there's a difference between the hero's journey and then understanding, wait a minute, time out. I'm already a being. Again, we talked about this at the beginning of the interview. You came in from somewhere, you're going to go somewhere. So what do you call that? You want to call that spirit, chi, Jesus, Allah, Yahweh, Krishna, Ganesh? I don't care. You call it what you want. We call it architect for simplicity because it has a grander design, and it is connected to a thing that Jung used to say is a collective unconscious. Well, if it's unconscious, that means you're not consciously aware of it. But you could be. You could be if you chose it. If you were learned in that system of how to do that, well, then everything looks different. And when you awaken, using your language, all of a sudden you go, crap, how much time have I wasted, quote unquote, to arrive at a truth that I knew when I came in, but was programmed, conditioned, educated to forget. And I'm such a good creator, which, by the way, every one of you listening, you are all master creators right now, today. You're all master architects. You've just been architecting what you don't want, because that's what the system teaches you to do. And because you're such a great transmitter receiver, you're doing it. You just don't aware of it. It sounds like
you know what you triggered in my head, Travis. We've been talking that you remember the Keymaster from the Matrix trilogy.
Of course.
Yeah, you're a bit like, where is the key? Well, if
you remember the Keymaster, he had nothing but keys, so he already had the key. It's finding the lock. Again, same analogy. I'm like, wait a minute, you already have all the keys. The problem is, what door are you sticking them in?
Yeah.
Right? And so when we do the Keys to Fear was one of our programs in the Academy. It's the 21 human fears that all human beings deal with, broken up into 3 major categories, which is communication, trust, and love. Because we all want to be loved. I don't give a crap who you are. I don't give you to be the biggest, toughest bloke in the world. You can be Conor McGregor, one of the toughest guys on the planet. But at the end of the day, we still want to love and be loved. The difference is we love so conditionally, and we place such expectations on that experience that no one can fulfill it, not even ourselves. And then we have this ideology of what unconditional love is. Like, well, that's kumbaya, and well, doggone it, I love the flowers and the squirrels sing. Shut up. That's not what unconditional love is. It can be, but that's not what it is. Unconditional love is acceptance that, guess what? Everything is temporary. It's temporary, and enjoy that experience. And you're going to enjoy and I know this sounds odd, and everyone in the UK is like, this bloody guy's a wanker. He's lost his mind. Wait a minute. But maybe losing our mind is exactly what we need. And we need to gain more heart from the perspective of, yeah, you're going to feel pain and you're going to feel hurt. And you know what? If you had 30 days left to live, you'd be begging for that hurt. You'd be begging to feel heartbreak. You'd be begging to feel anything, because you know in a short period of time, well, that feeling sequence.
No, but that's why I was saying about the kind of keymaster analogy and unlocking, because you know what you've been talking about consistently here is about unlocking. There's that creator mindset, like unlock it, you know, unlock your heart, unlock your mind, get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would even go to one step further. If we're going to use the Matrix metaphor, and I would give you Morpheus. You know, I stand here today not afraid. Why? Because I'm better than you? No, because I've accepted the fact that, hey, you know, we must first shed our fear of it. Our number one driver is fear. That's why when I developed the keys to fear system, the first fear we looked at is death. Right out of the box. People are like, wow, man, Travis, you're going down the rabbit hole. I'm like, no. From the moment we're born, death is imminent. It's imminent. However, life is getting through that fear that, yes, it's going to end. The question is, how do you want to journey? And how do you want to experience it? And so it puts you through a gate lock system, and the technology, now back to the technology and the way the Academy works, same thing. It's got a gate lock system that says, hey, you're not just going to watch a video and you learn. No. We're going to make sure it's in your DNA, and there's touchscreen interfaces and things that you get to deal with that works. Then we know it works because it's also data driven. So technology and learning have now finally had this cohesion, as opposed to, well, you need to read the book, Andrew, and you've got 50 pages you've got to learn by tomorrow, so you can take some stupid test that you'll forget by the third day. Great. That's not education. That's just pushing people through tax dollar systems on any planet. Stop. You know, I love the guys that are visionaries, and, you know, I claim to be a small one, but not nearly on a global scale, because I have a different model. But look at like Elon Musk, you know, let's go to Mars. Man, that's a galvanizing experience. It takes the entire brain, heart power of this species we call human. I mean, and let's put that in further perspective. Remember back when we were, born back to the 60s and 70s, they sent a little thing called Voyager.
Yes.
Well, Voyager just broke our solar system. It took 50 years. Hey, people, do the math. Moving at 17,000 miles per second, and it just left our solar system. I don't mean to be rude, but dang, we don't know anything yet. So let's look at the vastness.
Like it was in first gear. And it
right? I mean, we just showed up to the show, man, on a universal scale. They're like, oh, okay, you guys are white belts.
We were on a skateboard. Not
right. We just figured out how to carve the wheel out of stone. It called Voyager. It just took us, I don't know, 10 centuries to figure it out. And even then, it's gone into interstellar space. We don't know what we don't know. Where did we get lost in being ignited by our curiosity? And I don't mean curiosity of destruction. I mean curiosity. It's what we call amazing, AWE. So the word amazing, obviously American versus English, right? I say awe, AWE. When did we lose our sense of awe? And the funny thing is, if you've ever been around someone who is getting ready to experience death, right? Like my father just took the great journey here in January 2020.
Oh, really?
He did literally have 30 days left to live. He had pancreatic cancer stage 4. And that's a harbinger of ingestion of a lot of things, right? We'll leave that off the table for now. But he had 30 days left to live. So it really happened. So I was like, wow, that's impressive. The thing I've been teaching for 20 years now actually happened with my own father. But if you really look at that journey, it's like, well, if you have 30 days left to live, then I promise you become really curious about things again. So the wake up comment that you made, in taking all jest aside, it is about, well, wait a minute. What if I approached my life from that point of view every day? Like every day.
Well,
did it though.
I think my other analogy would be, it's a bit like, the analogy of the automobile, like, the jump leads. What I think you're doing is you're basically connecting the jump leads to people and saying, like, come on, wake up and engage. Yeah. And
we call it your BTU, your biothermal unit. Are you gonna be on fire and burn out? Because the famous song from Def Leppard, it's better to burn out than fade away. Yeah. You got to go back to Def Leppard. It goes all the way back to the 1980s. That date myself.
Better to burn out to fade away.
It's better to burn out. Burn out everything you got, every experience, every joy, every.
Oh,
pleasure,
that's Queen. That's Queen. That's Queen. That.
And I think it's Def Leppard, mate.
I thought it's Queen. Yeah, from the Highland.
Rise up, gather round, dun, 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 to the town. But up, let's go for broke. Gotta dive. No, I think it's Def Leppard, mate.
Is it okay? I'll check that out. No, because in the church.
By the way, I want to excuse my singing for all the listeners.
Yeah, exactly. That was quite a good. You heard it here first, Dr. Travis Fox, rock star.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I'll win a Grammy, mate. I'll leave that to the master.
Joe Elliott, please move over.
Touche. Can someone please grab the microphone from him? Please?
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like a Les Dawson thing when they go like this, he's like pull him off stage.
All right, where's the hook?
Exactly.
The old Muppet Show.
In terms of, I mean, we've covered a hell of a lot of ground.
Yeah.
I suppose, I mean, to kind of, I feel actually that I maybe have to have another episode with you at some point, because I think there's so much you've uncovered. It's just like,
we haven't even started yet. We haven't even got to the good stuff.
Exactly.
We haven't even got to the good stuff. This is foundational blueprinting. This is let's architect the blueprint, and then let's show here's a system on how to build it. But then you build it. You're the builder. That's the cool part. That's what I love. I'm so proud of our academy. So proud of our teachers. Is it's not you fit into our model. It's here's the blueprint. You make the model whatever you want it to be, but the skills are never can be taken away from you. And that's what makes you wealthy. And then the riches of you shows up in your job and your money and your relationships, because you truly are expressing from, as you see the logo over my shoulder, we call Helix, man. It's you inside out. It's the real you, right? Yeah. Whatever that is. And it changes, by the way. It's not, I'm the real me forever. That's it. No, it's an evolving story. It truly is. I mean, who I was in my 20s, thank gosh, I'm not, the same. I'm sure I have some, wacko traits that are similar, but in my 20s, I was a very angry young man. I was very off balance. I was so I was so caught in, being on the spectrum myself and being judged for that and being hyper intelligent yet hyper emotional. I'm passionate about everything I do. And either I don't do it because I'm not passionate, I'm not interested, because I want to feel that viscerally. But in my 20s, I was very frustrated because I felt very misunderstood. Well, it wasn't them that was the issue. It was me. But the educational system said that I needed to learn more about them. I'm like, they're not the problem. They're reflecting back to me. But that's not how we teach it.
It's your view that you need to comply.
Correct. I need to comply. I need to conform. I need to compress. I need to suppress. I need to not speak my real feelings. You can do all that in a beautiful, wonderful way, but we're taught competitive. I'm like, why? We're on this bloody little marble that's about the size of a nail in the middle of nowhere, which we just talked about 10 seconds ago from Technology from Voyager. Isn't it time we as a species, no different than the ants, if you look at the ant colony, they work together, right? But we are so afraid to work together because I might have to admit that Andrew knows more than me. Well, Andrew does know more than me, and that's okay. I only know what I know. Like that's what I said. I know how to teach. I'm a great teacher and I love teaching, and I know how to build brands. Beyond that, I'm dumb as a brick. Why is it not okay to be dumb as a brick? And let's put that a finer point, family. Our educational system and the way we were brought up is you need to be a well-rounded person. That's total hogwash. Well-rounded people don't do anything but roll around and just keep doing the same stupid crap over again. People who have mastered themselves at something, I don't care if it's, how to build underwater basket weaving in Guam or are doing electronic technologies that get us to Mars. When you've mastered that, that's you. That's part of you that allows this, what we call the grain of sand and the beach of God. However you define God. The beach doesn't exist without the grains, and the grains don't exist without the beach. You already are it.
I've got 3 more questions for you.
Okay. I charge after 3.
So,
just kidding.
Right. So the first one
is 30 second. Are these round robins 30 seconds or these long deep answers?
No. They're quite short. So I suppose the first one would be is if you, for our audience, you've covered a hell of a lot of ground. I really appreciate what you've covered today.
Oh, cheers, man. Thanks.
Very, very thought-provoking episode, and I think definitely we'll need to continue in another episode in the future. But I think what the question for me would be about if you given what you traveled so far in your journey, and people are listening to you today, what would be that those few points of advice and guidance? What are the kind of a few takeaways that you would give to people listening to this podcast episode today with yourself?
Yeah, great question. So I'll give a short answer to make it easy. One. Really ask yourself that question. If you had 30 days left to live, would you be doing anything? And answer honestly, just to yourself. You don't have to pronounce it. You don't have to make some grandstand thing. Just answer honestly. And if any part of your answer is no, stop. Then look at it from the perspective of, if I had 30 days left to live, what do I want to experience? And then ask yourself, watch when you ask yourself this question, watch how your mind will set objections. Listen to all the objections. You can't do it. You're not smart enough. You don't have the money. What will your husband say? What will your wife say? What will the kids say? What the family, your mom, blah, 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 blah. Listen to all that stuff. And when you see all that, then you'll see just a slight glimpse of the insanity that we impose upon ourselves. And then the second question is, if you don't know how to unwind it, if you don't understand how to architect your life, if you don't know how to architect your lifestyle, come to the Academy. The first 3 days, we dive right down the rabbit hole, are free. Come check it out. You can use it unlimited. And if you don't want to do anything further, great. It's not a sales pitch. It's not, hey, but wait, there's more. You buy now, you get free shipping. It doesn't do that. It really is a learning system, but it's a group around the world, thousands of people who have been through this. We have time tested and trained this experience and know that it generates results for you. It is the blueprint. This is the blueprint how we heal. It's the blueprint to deal with the keys to the fear, to unlock our fears. It is the blueprint to architect a life and a lifestyle, because you are the architect. But the problem is you forgot that you're the architect, and you've been architecting what you don't want. And I'd say those are the
take control and design it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and not even take control. In some cases, it's let going of it, right? Because we're control freaks. We are absolute control, which is based on fear. Well, we're back to that again.
Okay, so maybe rephrase that. Take ownership.
Fair enough. Well said, mate.
Okay. So those are your takeaways. So I think that first one is very, very
profound.
Very, very profound and a very thought-provoking takeaway.
Yeah, go to the thinker's position. Hang out there for a while.
The second question, which is completely random, right? Which is because we can't have a podcast called the G&T sessions. And maybe you may have a different answer to this. So the question would be: do you drink gin and tonic?
Actually, no, I don't. I suck at it. I'm a terrible drinker, period. One of the things I did learn in university is I suck at drinking. When I woke up face down in the volleyball court, hungover, and had the crap beat out of me by my little brother in my fraternity, I realized I wasn't really good at drinking. Now, if you want to talk to drugs, I'm phenomenal at drugs. You want to talk about ayahuasca, you want to talk about Pedro, you want to talk about psilocybin, man, I've journeyed them all. Much better at that.
It's not the D&T sessions, it's the G&T sessions. So anyway.
No, sorry, mate, I'm dyslexic. You got to give me a break.
Exactly, yeah, you missed that one, yeah. So normally I ask people if they have a favorite gin that they want to consume. It sounds like you don't drink alcohol, but you do other types.
Oh, I do. I drink alcohol. I just suck at it, mate. I'm more of a tequila guy myself.
Oh, right, okay.
Blanco tequila I can do, but truest, because I grew first 4 years of my life I grew up in Japan. So realistically, the only alcohol that really doesn't have a massive effect on me, where I just turn completely stupid, is sake.
Yeah,
you give me sake, I'm great. Beyond that, tequila is about what I can handle, but it's limited. And anything that's brown alcohol, forget it.
Well, what about we should rebrand it the S&T sessions, the sake and tequila sessions.
Why not?
That'll be a complete train wreck.
You know what? And then we should bring sake, and then we should do like the whole show is like every 5 minutes is a question. You have to do a shot. We'll see what profound stuff comes out then.
that could be a long episode.
You're right.
Until somebody passes out.
Yeah.
So
it'll probably be me.
Yeah. my final question would be: given all the great value that you've done on this episode today, which is really appreciated, how do people get hold of you? Because I think that there's some stuff here which anybody who's listening to this episode should look at with what you're doing, because I think it does raise some big questions. I mean, it's sort of provoking for me about what I've done, to be honest with you. So it's you think about the stuff you covered, and what's the best way of getting hold of you? What's the best way of finding out more about what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. The shameless plug is simple. On the social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's all at Travis Fox 360. Travis Fox 360. You can find me, and I do answer my own social media, by the way. Even though my team's involved, I do get involved. But the simplest way is to go to Architecting 360. That's architecting, ing360.com. It's right there for you. I mean, right in the little things. It says here, start today, bang, for free. Come check it out. I'm a firm believer. I don't believe you should go in massive debt for education. I don't believe that the last investment in your list should be yourself and your own development. I think it should be the opposite. So you get to experience our academy inside the academy. No BS. Come check it out. Experience it. Those first 3 days of the jump training will absolutely smash and change your life. If that viscerally hits you in the chest and you feel your rib cage pounding, then let's journey on. If not, Yeah. It'll go right through you. You'll know it. You'll see changes in your life instantaneously. And that's not a sales pitch. It's bona fide. Check it out. If it doesn't jam with you, thanks for coming. At least what we've done, at least giving you another step and a brick in your path to your journey to whatever that it means for you. So Architecting 360 is the fastest way. Get involved. Come check it out. We have, again, we have thousands of students around the world from all different countries, but we all come together under one ideology. You're not getting off this planet alive, and you are the architect of your life. And once you have the blueprint, you can architect any lifestyle you choose.
Wow. Okay. I think you've done an amazing job today. Thank you. Well, not an amazing job. It's been an amazing experience talking to you. So thank you.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this. We should do it again, but next time we'll bring sake, you bring gin, because gin, I'll be on the floor.
It's the SGT sessions, sake, gin, and tequila. Good grief.
Yeah, it's a spin-off show.
So thank you very much today, Travis. It's been an absolute pleasure. And
thank you.
Let's catch up soon. But I think, I would recommend anybody that's been listening to this episode to check out Travis's stuff, because it sounds like there's some really interesting work there. And I wish you all the best with what you're doing this year. Hope you get back to Las Vegas very soon. And let's look forward to drinking some sake, some gin, and some tequila in the soup.
Game on. I'll come over there. We'll play some proper golf.
Well, hey, you can teach me that as well.
Depends on how many drinks you make me do.
Ooh, yeah, every hole you miss, then you've got to...
Yeah.
I can see some games coming up here.
Oh, yeah, all kinds of them.
Thanks for your time. See you soon.
Cheers, mate. Journey well.
Bye-bye.